Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Theater Near You. My name is Kris, and I'm joined this evening by two of my very favorite people in the world, Paul and Sean. Paul, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
And Sean, say hi.
Hi.
And that's our show. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. This is our very first episode, so let's lay down the basics of what we're all about. On this show, we're going to talk about movies. On alternating episodes, we'll be talking about a major, timely new release, and on the others, we'll be talking about some of our older favorite movies, which will be chosen alphabetically, because why the heck not? So, to answer the next important question, who are we? Let's explain who we are. Paul, why don't you go first? Who are you?
Oh, all right. Well, I'm Paul. Kris and I have been friends for a very long time. I work in technical theater. I work for a university in the Philadelphia area. I also studied film, but I don't think any of that is important. Really, what it is I just like to watch movies. I'm a guy who likes to watch movies.
As am I. All right. Sean, what about you? Who are you?
Well, I am a lover of fine wine and fine women. No, I don't think I'm qualified to do any of this. The closest thing, I took a film class in high school, taught by a great teacher. He was nice and tall. He showed me some stuff. I have been working on my own. I worked at a bookstore and I read all these books that were like 1,000 movies to see before you die, and I've been working my way through like these giant lists of movies. So I guess I'm a film fan. So that's about the most credentials I have that are relevant to this.
Sean, do you feel like your teacher's tallness helped you understand movies better?
I do. You know what? If you've got a short teacher, it's real easy to just ignore them. But when someone's like, this guy was like 7'6", he was a professional basketball player before being a teacher. So like when he talks, you listen.
He had to duck through going indoors.
Like, right, that dude was huge. Like, he literally played for the Pacers. So when he talked, I listened, mostly out of fear, but I think that helped me to absorb more. My ADD was a real situation.
See, now I feel like I'm behind with this movie thing. Like, I feel like I'm just a guy that likes movies, and if you guys both had a giant teacher that made you pay attention to movies, I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball now.
Mr. P?
Did you not have Mr. P in school?
Oh, yeah, Mr. P. Never mind, we're all on the same level.
How do you forget a 7-foot, I don't remember what it was, 7'7" Pacers guard trying to teach you film?
I don't know, man. That was a long time ago.
Well, I'll go last. My name is Kris. I do a lot of different podcasts on the podcast network that we're on here, the Geekade Podcast Network. I host the Stone Age Gamer podcast about video games. I co-host this week's episode, which is about TV shows. I do a podcast about video game music, and it's basically the only way I know to keep in touch with people I like. So I decided, well, we don't have a movie podcast on the site yet, and I want to talk to Paul and Sean more, so here we are. I love movies. I love pretty much any forms of media that I can consume because I'm a media junkie, I suppose. But I have a deep-seated love of good and bad movies. So this should be a lot of fun to discuss movies with you guys.
And this movie in particular seems like you're uniquely suited for it because of your video game background.
Right? You would think. And yet I was still kind of lost at some of this stuff. Maybe because of the filmmaking, maybe because it's based on newer games, I don't know. But for our first episode, we'll be discussing the brand spanking new Mortal Kombat reboot. We're talking Mortal Kombat from Warner Brothers Pictures, released April 23rd, 2021 in the United States. It was directed by Simon McQuoid? McQuoid? Sure, let's go with that. This is his major motion picture directorial debut, and based on what I saw, I'm not entirely surprised. It's based on the video game series Mortal Kombat, created by Ed Boon and John Tobias, and the movie was rated R. So before we start talking about the actual content of the movie, let's talk about how we watched it. Paul, how did you consume Mortal Kombat?
Wait, are you telling me you watched Mortal Kombat 2021? I'm here ready to talk about Mortal Kombat 1995. I was going to tell you about the cutting edge technology of that spear thing coming out of Scorpion's hand with all the finesse of the Terminator 2 series. Also, I was going to talk about Christopher Lambert as Raiden with his electric eyes that sort of harkened back to the Quickening and his days as
excellent
the Highlander.
sharp wit. I don't think so.
We're gonna land back on Christopher Lambert because after this, me and my girlfriend Jacqueline, we had to look up him and be like, where has he been, man? I mean, he did great work in Highlander and then Mortal Kombat, and I haven't seen him. And we looked him up on IMDb. Apparently, he went French on us. I don't know what was going on there, but
Dude, his last name is Lambert. He's always been French.
I think that says a lot about how Sean felt about the movie, that he spent it thinking about what Christopher Lambert might be doing.
I say we looked into that, I mean, like, we know, like, we did some research. Apparently, he was actually born in America and moved to France when he was, like, 2, grew up there, so he is kind of French, but his parents were French. But the real reason, I'm going to forgive him all of that. The real reason I have a problem at this point is because apparently after Mortal Kombat, he moved back to French and exclusively made French movies and television, which really, like, if you're French and American, and you choose to move back there and just shun us, then I know, I got to turn against you at this point. I would have let it go before that, but now it's like, well, you're dead.
I guess it makes you uniquely suited to play a guy from the Highlands of Scotland and also an Asian character that shoots lightning from his hands.
There are a few casting directors that should be fired harder or faster than that man. Although I loved it. It's also the best part of that movie. It's weird.
Yeah, from the 1995 Mortal Kombat.
Sorry. I was trying to make a dumb joke. I did not watch the 1995 Mortal Kombat. Yes, how did I consume the movie? I feel like I did it the same way that everybody did, which is these days you can't do anything or go anywhere. You're just watching what's on HBO Max. So I specifically got HBO Max to watch the 4-hour long Super Friends movie there. So after that I said, well, I guess I'm keeping this for the summer because I want to be able to watch new releases this summer. So I didn't even really know that Mortal Kombat was coming out. Like this was not really on my radar. And then, maybe a week before, I was perusing the Apple trailers, which I like to do occasionally, which again also is depressing now because, like, you look at it now and you go, oh, look, one movie this month. But I was like, oh, Mortal Kombat. And then we watched the trailer, and, like, I gotta say, this was a ballsy trailer because it was like the whole first scene of the movie. Like, I've never seen a trailer like this where they were like, hey, you know what we're going to show you? We're going to show you the whole first scene of the movie.
Yeah, I remembered I watched that too.
Yeah, and I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Like, what an amazing, like, I don't know what this is about, but this is awesome. And then, everything after that point was like, oh, so this happened. So yeah, we were sort of amped to watch Mortal Kombat, and I probably checked it out pretty late in the evening. But when it was over, I was like, I got a lot to talk about with Kris and Sean. And then I wanted to try to beef up for this podcast, so I wanted to try to watch the 1995 Mortal Kombat. Wasn't on HBO Max.
Yeah.
The other one, what's it called? Annihilation or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Yeah, I watched like maybe half of that while I was trying to fall asleep last night, and honestly, God. I think it was a more enjoyable experience because it in no way took itself seriously. It was just like, oh, remember all that stuff that happened? Well, we're gonna fight people again. Go. So
Annihilation is so freaking bad. That movie's ugh. There's a point in that movie where Sub-Zero shows up and he's like, wait, didn't we kill you? Like, no, I'm other Sub-Zero, all right? I'm going to make a bridge out of ice. Then Scorpion shows up, and they fight for like 30 years or something, and then he teleports away with Katana, and he goes, suckers! Like Precious Roy from Syphil and Ollie. and then Sub-Zero's like, yo, you're not ready to do this. Let's go this way. And then they go that way, and then you never see Sub-Zero and Scorpion again for the rest of the movie. They're just gone.
It sounds about as cohesive as what we watched on HBO Max anyway. So
yes, we'll get to that. Let's see. I watched it. So I watched this on Sunday night, and I went to watch it on Saturday night, and I said to my wife Karen, I said, so I'm doing this podcast, and we need to watch Mortal Kombat. Would you like to watch it with me? And she said, no. I have no interest in seeing that movie, so here's my counteroffer. Sunday night is the Oscars, and I know you don't care about watching the Oscars. And I said, you're absolutely right. I don't care about watching the Oscars. So I watched this downstairs in my basement, which was not previously set up too well for watching movies, but I recently moved my PlayStation 4 down into my basement and connected it to my 10-year-old plasma TV, because I'm still rocking a plasma from 10 years ago. And I downloaded the HBO Max app, or HBO Now, or HBO, what is it? HBO Max?
I think
is that what
I think it's HBO Go.
Oh, I don't even know anymore. There's like 4 different HBO apps. Either way, I downloaded the current HBO app.
HBO Guess.
And I booted it up on my PlayStation 4. HBO OBH. I don't know.
Why not?
I didn't have any snacks. I watched it alone. I did have a glass of chocolate milk. And that was pretty much it. I watched it alone by myself. And then when it was over, I sat in silence for a moment, and it just kind of absorbed what I watched. And then I went upstairs, and I had a quick chat with Karen, and then she said something about some actress doing a butt dance or something on the Oscars, and I said, all right, I'm out. I'm going to go upstairs and read comic books and go to sleep. And then I did. How about you, Sean? How did you watch the movie?
So I started to watch it during the workday because COVID, and I got downtime. And I got like 2 minutes in, and my girlfriend walked out because she works in the bedroom and I work in the living room because, I don't know, it's COVID. And she was like, hey, I wanted to watch that. And I was like, that can't be right. What you're saying can't be. You want to watch Mortal Kombat? I didn't even think to ask her. And she was like, yeah, I think I liked the first one with Christopher Lambert. And that's when we started talking about Christopher Lambert. And then I was like, all right, I'll wait till dinner time. You'll be done work at 5. So then we sat in front of our TV in our living room, which is like I don't know, maybe 49 or 51 inches, decent sized TV that we got from the arcade. We paid for it with tickets that we won playing video games in the arcade down in LBI. That was our first big joint purchase. It took a lot of video gaming to get to they have it up on the wall. They don't expect anybody to buy it. But if you just sit there all day with hundreds of dollars and spend way more than that 51-inch Samsung is worth, it was probably a $400 TV. We probably dropped $700, $800 in video games to get enough tickets. But we watched it on that TV. HBO Max, of course, because nobody can go to the theater. And it makes me think that pre-COVID, I stopped going to the theater. I'm a movie fan. I intake a lot of movies, and I stopped going to the theater for anything that didn't have big special effects, like the Marvel superhero movies and something like this, Mortal Kombat. When I would go see this, I would go to the theater because that's what the theater I feel increases. Your Jurassic Parks, your Marvel movies, things with big special effects. Anything else, comedies, dramas, anything like that, I'd rather watch at home on my couch. Comfortable, and just I don't need a giant screen or great sound effects where I can feel the T-Rex stomping or whatever. But this is the type of movie I would have gone to the theater for. I think it would have been better because there's special effects and fight scenes, etc. But we sat there on the couch and watched it. Snack wise, it was about dinner time, so we got about halfway through the movie, picked the slow scene, stopped it, and got our dinner out of the kitchen. It was some sort of Asian shrimp dish. It was pretty good, I guess. I don't know, whatever. I probably had a beer or two while I was watching it. That's how I intook this movie. That's what I'm going with.
I thought you were going to say, I won't go to the theater for anything anymore that doesn't have Christopher Lambert in it.
Drawing a hard line there.
I'm also really impressed that the thing that you said was your first big purchase was bought completely with tickets.
Could you imagine me being with a girl and the story being anything different than that. Like, obviously, we're not going to house together or buy anything together until we can do it with video game tickets. Like, that's step one.
I mean, I suppose I wouldn't expect anything less of you. I also suppose that I also suppose that we've come a long way, because, like, wasn't it that you and me that went, I think we went to something, game place in LBI or something like that, and all we could afford was, like, a little plastic football, and then we set up, like, a sharing thing where you got it one weekend and I got it another weekend. Like, wasn't that you and me that did that?
That might have been. That sounds about right. If I had to guess back in the day, that was probably Ocean City or Wildwood, but, because LBI was a little ritzy when we were young, but... That'll check.
So who has the plastic football now?
It's my turn, and Paul's holding out.
I'll get it to you as soon as I can, Sean.
So here's what happened with me. As soon as I finished the movie, I had a thought that kind of made me sad, because I didn't hate the movie. I also can't say that I really enjoyed it all that much, but I didn't hate it. But I went upstairs and I sat down next to Karen and I said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I mean this legitimately. The original Mortal Kombat was a better movie. Like, it's not... The original Mortal Kombat is... It's pure cheese. It's a giant block of cheddar. But
are you saying you don't like cheddar? I love cheddar.
I love cheddar, and I love the original Mortal Kombat movie. It's not good, but it functions as a movie. It sets up characters. It gives you their motivations. It follows through with them. It tells a cohesive story, air quotes there, and then it concludes, and that's the thing that it does. This movie was just... I loved that intro, like the whole beginning thing where Paul saw was all, oh, this is cool. You got the ninjas and they're all killing each other, and this is going to be a good movie, right? And then the next scene, it was like, okay, but what happened to these guys? All right, well, this is clearly going to connect to these guys in some way, shape, or form with this really boring MMA fighter. And then, like, they just kept going away and away, and then we didn't see Scorpion again until, like, the end of the movie.
Yeah, I almost felt like they made that thing the trailer purposely to trick us, because it wasn't like any other part of the movie. Number one, it sort of made me think that there was going to be, I don't know, characters that we invest in and care about. Also, like, are those guys the guys that played Scorpion and Sub-Zero? Like, they look like they might have been, like, trained martial arts, like, fighters. Like, the one guy that was Scorpion, I've seen him in other stuff. Like, I've seen him in, like, Westworld when they go to the, like, samurai area. Mm-hmm. Like, is that true? Are those?
Well, let's see. Sub-Zero was played by Joe Taslim. Let's see. Who is... Oh my goodness. He was born on June 23rd, 1981. I'm 1 day older than that guy.
Oh, that's exciting. You guys could celebrate your birthdays together.
Wow, yeah. He
felt like an adult. That means I'm an adult, and you're an adult. Paul's an adult, and this sucks.
Well, he is a judo athlete of Chinese descent, so that covers Sub-Zero. So he's a trained martial artist. Let's see, where is Hanzo Hasashi, aka Scorpion, was played by Hiroyuki Sanada, who was born in 1960. It looked like there was a pretty sizable age difference between those guys. Yeah. Let's see.
1960? That can't be right. You telling me that guy was 60-something years old?
That's what it says. Hiroyuki Sanada was born on...
61, 62, something like that?
12th of October, 1960. Yep.
I guess he's just in really good shape.
Yeah. Seems that way.
He's like the same age as my dad? That's crazy.
He is a...
Look good.
Definitely a Japanese actor. It doesn't say anything in his IMDb profile about being trained in martial arts, but he does appear to have been... I mean, he was in the Twilight Samurai. He was apparently in The Wolverine.
Yes,
God,
right.
Who was he in that movie? He played in Westworld. He was in Avengers Endgame. He's someone named Akihiko. Okay, sure, why not? We'll do that. So yeah, they both had martial arts training.
I mean, you know, sure. I thought the movie was off to a really good start, and then it literally just went to weird places. And I mean, I think I had a similar thought to you, Chris, about comparing it to the other one. But, you know, I started thinking, like, what was it that I was expecting out of this movie? And then I was sort of left with the question, like, well, what's the plot of the video game? Like, was I expecting something out of this? Because there's a plot to the video game? I feel like the video game was just like, you pick a dude and then you fight another dude and somebody wins. Like, is there more to it than this? Like why?
Pretty much the plot of the first movie, where there's a tournament, and if the Outworld wins enough times, then they get to rule Earth. And so they fight in a tournament. But then they didn't do that in this movie. They were like, we're gonna talk about the tournament a lot, but we're never gonna actually have a tournament.
It's true, they didn't have a tournament. It was just these guys had to defeat these guys or the other. It wasn't in Mortal Kombat. It was just like had to knock them out so they didn't win.
It's annoying when you watch a movie and you're like, why are the bad guys or the good guys being so stupid? Especially the bad guys, because usually when you're watching a movie, the bad guys have no morals. It's like, well, why are they being stupid about this? Well, then right up to the end, I was like, well, now we're going to eventually get to Mortal Kombat, and there'll only be like one or two guys left alive, and they'll have to actually do it. And it didn't do that. But I did appreciate the fact that the bad guys were just like, fuck it, we're just going to go kill everybody before the contest even begins. And I'm like, that's what a bad guy would do. This makes way more sense. So, like, I really did appreciate the, screw the tournament, there's probably rules and stuff we got to follow. There's going to be like a referee. No, let's just go kill them cheater style way ahead of time. Like, I don't know. I liked that.
Well, they did that in the original movie, too.
Right, yeah, they went after him.
In the original movie, Shang Tsung sicked Scorpion and Sub-Zero on him, and Raiden was just like, no, you can't do this. I can, because I'm Lord Raiden. I'm the Thunder God. I will stop this from happening. And so they had a MacGuffin built in to make them do the tournament. So they and I can't believe I'm talking about the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie being more well thought out than this, because they were just like, no, we're just going to cheat this whole time. Like, yes, I appreciate that they want to cheat the whole time, but it doesn't make it for a more interesting movie, because now it's just like, well, now it's just the good guys are on the ropes the whole time, and I have not learned to care about these good guys nearly enough to care that they're on the ropes. Like that, what's his name? What was my friend Jared referred to him as Party City Colossus, because he had the armor that looked like a Party City costume of Colossus, which we'll get to that in a bit. I could not have cared less about him. He was like dead fish on the screen the whole time. And then we meet Sonya.
You're speaking of our main character, Cole Young, is that right?
Yes. Our main character, Cole Young, in the Mortal Kombat pantheon of video games, where there's like 150 established characters to choose from, they decide to invent a new one for this movie and make it the main guy.
Now hang on. I want to get into Cole Young. I have a lot of big feelings about Cole Young, okay?
Okay.
But
right.
Before we move past this, I feel like you guys are not giving this its proper due, right? Because you have said that there's no rules to this, and that it's like, well, the bad guys just said, why don't we kill all the good guys and get it over with, and that it was just sort of a free-for-all. That's not accurate. There were rules to this, and I'm going to bring this back to Christopher Lambert, right? But they had those tattoos, and when you beat somebody with a tattoo, the tattoo goes on the other person. You might say it quickens onto the winner, and that at the end there could be only one. There were rules to Mortal Kombat.
There were indeed, and they had to win all their tournaments or whatever. Like, the whole thing was they were going to kill all them so that they could win the tournament by default. So they were still following the rules of Mortal Kombat. They were just breaking the other rules or whatever.
So there's two things here. One, I've already forgotten the second one, so that's great. But the first one, and the important one, Chris said something a moment ago about being a good movie. And I feel like if we do this on an ongoing basis, this podcast, if it actually works out, we're going to find that I'm the easiest going on movies. I want to be entertained. I am on board, right? Like, suspension of disbelief, man, you got to fight against me. I want to just lose sense of reality for an hour and a half and be entertained. I'm working with you, so you have to really screw this up. So when I'm watching a movie, I've got like, again, from reading all those books, and I made all these lists for myself, I've got like 25 lists of different types of movies. I kind of keep them in that category. So this is a video game movie, right? So when I'm sitting down to watch a video game movie, I am not expecting Shakespeare. Now, that is not a license to make a terrible movie. Don't get me wrong.
And they didn't.
But
I don't think they made a terrible movie. Just gotta lay that down.
I got through the whole thing. I didn't turn it off. So it wasn't terrible. If it's terrible, I turn it off. It's a video game movie. So I go into this. The example I usually use is Rampage. I watched Rampage with what's his name, The Rock.
The Rock.
And look, that was everything I wanted it to be. And anyone who didn't like that movie shouldn't have sat down to watch that movie. You were sitting down to watch a 1980s a movie based on a 1980s video game starring The Rock. If you thought you were going to get anything other than exactly what they put in front of me, you're an idiot. Like, they did exactly what was supposed to happen in this scenario. Again, it's not Shakespeare, it doesn't deserve an Oscar, but it was entertaining, and it hit all the points. So my biggest problem, which gets us back to what Paul was just saying, or what Kris was about to bring us to, is the main character. I watched this whole movie, and I assumed, because my Mortal Kombat knowledge is not great. I played the first one a lot. The second one, I'll say a lot, not as much as the first one, but the second one a lot, and the third one a bit, and that's it. So when I watched this movie, I just kind of assumed that main character dude, who I didn't know, was a character from like Mortal Kombat 4 or 5 or 17, because I don't know how far they got, that I didn't know. So I just kind of gave the movie a pass on that. But when you're making a video game movie, especially when you have a cast of characters like Mortal Kombat has to choose from, the fact that you're now saying they made this character up, I'm appalled. It's like, why? You have this many characters to choose from, and you made somebody up. I also assumed that the chick with the wings was a character that I just didn't know. I don't know if that's true or not anymore.
Yeah, she's from a later game.
All right, so see, that's fine.
They're up to, I think the most recent one is Mortal Kombat 11, just to put that into perspective.
Right. Okay, so the chick I'm fine with. You grabbed a popular character from Mortal Kombat 9 who had some wings and you threw her in there. Hey, have at it.
That's fine.
Right. So again, I assumed as much. But you're telling me the main character was just completely made up for this movie, and now I'm just like, that's not how you make a video game movie.
Especially when that's your main character, and look at all of the marketing. See, here's where I started to get kind of problematic with it. Here's why I took more offense to that than anything, was that this movie is marketed. I'm looking at the poster right now, and it is Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. Everything I've seen is like Scorpion and Sub-Zero real big in the middle. And the secondary stuff I've seen about this movie always is like, well, here's Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and they look great, right? Except they were all right. I was fine with them. They just didn't have much of a presence. Whatever.
Oh, really? You thought they were okay? I thought Liu Kang made a very convincing, lifelike human puppet.
Yeah, Liu Kang. I say they're okay because Kung Lao was pretty much Kung Lao, except why didn't he? They show right in the beginning that he can do his cool little teleport move, right? Because he teleports right in there, and that's one of his things in the game is he can just kind of teleport, right? So why didn't he teleport during the fight at all? He just did stuff with the hat, and then he just whatever.
So wait, I need to go back and hit a couple points, but while we're here talking about Kung Lao and him teleporting, so I totally forgot that he could teleport, right? My knowledge of these games is similar to Sean's. I played the first one a lot at Jim Yamaguchi's house. Like he had the classic Sega, and we would all go over there and play that. I played the second one a lot, probably in the arcade. I don't think I played anything after the second one. I didn't know who a lot of those bad guys were. I was bummed that like my favorite bad guy wasn't in there, the dude with the teeth and the claws.
Baraka.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe they were trying to like keep him up their sleeve for like a different movie or something.
I mean, clearly they're setting up sequels. They're going after Johnny Cage in the end of this one for the second one. But yeah, I didn't see Baraka, and that was kind of a letdown.
I have big thoughts about that whole Johnny Cage ending too. But what was I gonna say? Getting back to Cole Young and what was the deal about Cole Young? Like, all right, so I agree with Kris, and maybe this is another reason why I was like subconsciously really annoyed about the start of the movie, because all the marketing stuff shows Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and like the way that first scene started, like made you think that was going to be real integral to the story, and like I guess it wasn't not integral to the story, but it wasn't. The rest of the movie did not follow in the footsteps of that first scene.
Yeah.
But then like Cole Young, like, all right, so the original 95 Mortal Kombat, like Liu Kang was kind of the main character, right?
Yeah. Liu Kang was the main guy, and he teamed up with Johnny Cage and Sonya, and they all went into the crazy world of Mortal Kombat, and hijinks ensued, and there was violence and techno music, and everybody was happy.
Why not have him, why introduce a new guy to be the guy that you focus on? Why not have him, or why not have, I don't know, and sort of getting back to that whole thing with Liu Kang, who I thought was not great, and Kung Lao.
Yeah, no, Liu Kang was not great. Kung Lao was fine as Kung Lao. I somewhat enjoyed him, but Liu Kang was like, he had no presence at all, and the dude was shooting fire out of his hands, and he was still boring. How does that work?
Why did the movie think we couldn't meet more than one person at once? Did you notice that?
No, I
didn't. Like, why did the movie think that we weren't smart enough to meet two people at the same time? Like it would incrementally introduce you to each character to the extent that some of it was like laughable, like where like. You meet Sonya and like they're talking or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I got this dude tied up over here," and he's like, "Hey, you know,
been here the whole time."
and like it was the same thing with Kung Lao and Liu Kang, that like the movie was trying to tell you that they were connected, that they were cousins, and that they were both training in this thing at the same time and whatever, and like we had to have Liu Kang sort of show up over that hill with the sun and be all, like, "Oh, I'm Liu Kang." And then Kung Lao kind of just like popped up out of nowhere. Like it was almost as if they were like, "We couldn't introduce you to two people at once, so this guy's gonna just pop in here later."
Whereas
it was very
in
strange.
The original movie, you had Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the deadliest of enemies, but slaves under my power. And that's all you got as far as backstory, and that's all you needed. We didn't get an explanation as to why he had a CG snake in his hand, and we didn't get an explanation why Sub-Zero had cool ice powers. But in this one, they hit us with the midi-chlorians thing, with what do they call their special abilities in this one?
Oh, I think they called it Arcana?
Yeah, sure.
Or was it Arcana?
Something like that, yeah.
Do we really need to go through that? The whole, like, they have to find their Arcana thing? Like, can't we just have it be like, we're in this fantastical world of Mortal Kombat. Of course this guy can throw fireballs. But no, we got to make Kano earn this laser eye thing, and then Sonya gets pink rings at the end for reasons. And what was Jax's Arcana? That he can make robot arms bigger? How did that work?
Yeah, I think that was the only way that they could justify getting him from like weird little half-ass Terminator arms to like big crazy arms. That had to be his Arcana.
But the real question is, why did they give him half-ass Terminator?
That's the first place. Or why couldn't it just been like an upgrade that he got before the bad guy showed up or something? Like, they didn't. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, all right, I'm not going to say that every mutant power in X-Men makes sense, because it just doesn't. But at the end of the day, like, what would his Arcana have been if he didn't have wimpy robot arms? Like, would he have grown robot arms over his regular arms, or would his regular arms have gotten super beefy? Like, what would it have been?
You see, my problem with it isn't even that. My problem's on the other end. Like, whoever put those on him, those weird guys that work there, why did you develop robot arms that like get the sense from the brain but still suck? Like I just don't get it. Like you're doing this because he's got that symbol on him and you think he's going to be a fighter. You're telling me that you have technology far beyond what we have today, but they suck. Like, it's just like, it was instantly, it took signals from his brain and he could use the arm, but they were tiny and weak and little. Well, you made them tiny and weak and little. Just make them bigger, man.
Or if the Arcana is just magic, right? If it's just a magic thing, like it makes you throw fireballs or it makes you, makes you be able to throw a spinny hat, right? Like whatever it decides to be, that it's just kind of magic, then why give him the wimpy robot arms at all? Like, I think they missed an opportunity with him. Like, they could have had him running around with stumps being like, I still got to fight, I got the tattoo, and then he, like, I guess he would have to train and sort of like bang his head against things and
get really good with
kicks. And then he'd get his Arcana.
So
yeah.
So here's a little off topic, but whatever. I'll transition like a freight truck. I don't care. Here we go. I felt the one thing watching it, I was thinking, I got to talk about this. I should probably try to take mental note of something or other. And I'm watching it. The only character I really liked 3/4 of the way through was Kano. And like in my head, I was like, I'm not supposed to like Kano. He was a bad guy in the video game. I'm pretty sure he's going to turn on these people, just based on my foreknowledge. But like, he was the only one they fleshed out to a degree that I was kind of on board with. I was like, I like this guy. He's pretty good.
I agree. He was very entertaining to watch.
He was entertaining to watch, and you liked him. I mean, he was gruff and he was a dick, but he was a likable dick, And then like he was the bad guy, which you saw coming. But it was like I didn't care about the good guys that much. It wasn't a terrible movie. I got to the end. If it's a terrible movie, I turned it off. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the writers worked real hard on his dialogue, or maybe he was a better actor because a couple of the other characters came off flat. I don't know which was.
I think it was a combination of the two. He had more to work with, and he was just out there chewing the scenery, and that was kind of the thing. Like nobody else. It seemed like everyone who was playing these other characters really wanted to take it very, 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 very seriously, and it just didn't really work. It was trying to be too serious, but the director couldn't connect the dots. Like it reminded me of the later Harry Potter movies, where it's like we have this checklist of scenes we're going to do, and then we're going to worry about connecting them later. But then they never worried about connecting them later. They just kind of put them next to each other, assuming that we're going to like follow the story. But there were so many jump cuts to like Outworld, and they were like, well, they'd all walked over and talked to Shang Tsung again. Well, what did that have to do with the previous scene? Like, where's the connective tissue? And it kept bringing me right out of it. And I'm not trying to overanalyze things. Like, I get the point that you were making before. This is a video game movie, and I want certain things to happen. But it was like they wanted to try to transcend beyond just being video game movie and do a bunch of really cool stuff. But they didn't make an entertaining enough movie, like a cohesive enough movie in the meantime. And then on the opposite side of that, the video game lingo they shoved into there was so shoehorned. Like in the original movie, they went out of their way to try and fit those things like finish him and fatality and stuff into the conversation, like into something that made a degree of sense. Not a ton, but like a certain amount of sense. In this one, they were just like, Kung Lao killed you and was like fatality. Like nobody would say that. And of course the biggest gripe would be Scorpion showing up at the end. This dude has spoken exclusively Japanese the entire movie. And then all of a sudden, get over here. And then goes right back to speaking Japanese. Like, and I said this when I was talking to Dan last night. Did he learn that one English sentence while he was in hell? What happened? Why did he say that? It made no sense. And like that they established a situation where Scorpion's saying get over here doesn't, like, I can't even suspend my disbelief because I'm also kind of similar to Sean. I'm out to be pleased, right? I loved Godzilla vs. Kong. That movie was dumb as a bag of cats, but the giant lizard punched the giant monkey and all the Hollow Earth stuff was completely ridiculous, but it all paid off. Like, they'd bring you up these stupid scenarios, that all these things that make zero sense, but then it didn't matter because it was entertaining enough to cover up for that, right? Because it just didn't matter. Giant monkey punched giant lizard, success. But in this one, they established this movie universe. They set these rules that then immediately betrayed the things that they were trying to do in the first place. Like, well, then don't set those rules in the first place. Have the dude speak English.
Would you have rather that instead of Akana, they called it back, down, triangle, circle?
I mean, if Scorpion showed
awesome.
up and said backpack low punch, and then he threw the thing and said, get over here, I would have been great, you know? But Kung Lao, who didn't teleport by pressing down up, which is how he did it in Mortal Kombat 2, just down up and he teleports across the... This movie made me mad.
Yeah.
It made me mad because there's no reason this movie should not have been, as a movie, at least as good as the original Mortal Kombat, because that's not a crazy high bar. The movie's not high art, but it is a very entertaining, stupid movie. And this was a fine movie. And I was hoping for more than fine.
Yeah.
They kind of wasted Goro, too.
Yeah.
That was a bummer. Like, that was a great Goro design. He looked great. But then, like, they had him fight in a shed, and I loved it when his wife came out and, like, axed him in the back. That made me pretty happy. Like, he's choking him out and whatever, and she's like, all right, screw this. Grabs an axe and just stabs him in the back. Like, okay, that was pretty cool. They had a couple of the cool fatalities and stuff in there, right? Like when Kung Lao saw-bladed the Bat Lady in half. That was pretty awesome. But...
oh, that was ridiculous. Like, his hat just turned into a table saw.
And that's what I'm here for.
Right.
That's Mortal Kombat.
Right. No, that was great. Yeah.
Well, if we can get back to Kano for a second, because it did kind of seem like he was in a different movie than everybody else.
A good one.
So, like... well, yeah, I know, right?
He was in the movie I wanted to see.
I have two sort of thoughts about this. So, I mean, number one, yeah, I thought Kano was like the sleeper hit of the movie, right? Like, some things he said that I really enjoyed. Thank you for flying Air Kano. I know you had fuck all choices. I like that he talked about shoving the sombrero up the guy's ass. I think he said something like, your power is you have a hubcap as a helmet. I mean, he had some really great lines when it came to Kung Lao, or Kung Pao, as he called him. I mean, I think even, like, before he got his Akana, he had some line where he, like, told everybody to suck his balls. Like, I mean, he was, I think he was kind of the funniest part of the movie. But then there was that scene where he was talking to the, like, robot guy. I don't know who that guy was. The bad guy who said he was, like, in an iron lung. You know what I'm talking about?
He's from Mortal Kombat 3, and I'm already forgetting his name, but I love playing as him in Mortal Kombat 3.
Kato, oh god, what's his name? Shoot, it's short. It's just one word. It's like Rako, Rago, Kago.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna bother me. It's
he's wearing like a gas mask and he's got two like long
Cabal.
There it is. God, I was in the ballpark.
In the Cabal Park?
Yeah. Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Like, that guy was kind of snarky too, right? Like, he, you know, I think they were trying to do sort of like a snarky Deadpool kind of thing with that guy too. But at one point, he starts talking about Kano, and he's like, yeah, there's this guy on Earth. He can help us out. He'll join side. And he starts talking about the Dragon Clan and all this stuff like that. And I was like, this sounds like a whole nother movie. Like, where was this movie? You know, like, in the fact that they're sort of setting all this stuff up with Sub-Zero and Scorpion and how that scene was, like, the best in the movie. If there's other connections, like, if there's other... you know, storylines between, like, Jax and Sonya, or Cabal and Kano, or, like, whatever, why didn't they, I don't know, I guess they just wanted to get to the fighty fight stuff and not have character. It just brought me back to what was the point of all of it? Like, was the point to Make a movie or a long video game cutscene.
Yeah, because like the only one that they really showed backstory to was Scorpion, who we didn't see till the end of the movie, and Cole, who was like, am I supposed to like this guy? Because you're not showing me anything that makes me like him. He sucks at MMA fighting, I guess. He's good at losing, and he's just kind of bland.
He's demonstrated some care towards his family. That seems like a real low bar. I mean, like, all right, he's not a dick.
The best I can muster is basic human compassion, but he's not exactly likable, and that's not what you want out of your main character. But in the original movie, they did that kind of stuff. Remember, they when Sonya, you knew why Sonya was after Kano, because like they had Sonya and Jax staking out and searching for Kano. They set up Johnny Cage and his whole relationship and what his reason for getting involved in the tournament was, and they set up Liu Kang, and they did that stuff in that movie for the characters that you were supposed to care about and then follow, and they just kind of didn't in this one. We met Sonya in the middle of the desert, and what was her backstory? She's been looking into this tournament for a while, and there's stuff all over the boards, I guess. She's got pictures everywhere.
And she's got Kano.
And she's got Kano tied up. Because, why is he tied up there? Who knows?
It was also sort of weird that Sonya didn't have a tattoo, and then that ultimately she got her quickening tattoo by killing Kano. Like, I just felt like it was this prolonged inevitability of she had him captured for all that time, and I was like, why not just fucking kill him then?
Yeah.
You know, like it was.
And then in the desert, he's like, go ahead, kill me. When she beat him in the desert, and she's like, nah. I'll do it later or something. Like, okay, but so now you're setting it up that this person I only vaguely care about, is going to have to kill the only character I'm enjoying watching. So why are you doing this to me?
So that she could get those glowy wrist things.
Yeah, for like 5 seconds. So she mastered her arcana or arcana or canum or her Kano in like 5 seconds flat or whatever.
Yeah, so not only did she do that, master it instantly, which seemed like a little bit of a jump. The Kano guy, it seemed like a little bit of a jump because he's like, yeah, Kano's the reason I'm in this iron lug, and then the next scene he's like buddy with him. But then like right after she masters her arcana or whatever it is, there was that scene, and like I followed it, but it just seemed like it was like, I'm gonna drop this giant statue on Jax and Sonya, and he kind of does it, and I know that then Jax gets the thing off her or whatever, but it just seemed not correctly edited through that whole I'm gonna say the third quarter of the movie, like right, not towards the end, but like it just seemed like, I don't know, it seemed like maybe they had I want to think that they had about another 20 minutes of movie that would have connective tissue and kind of brought all those scenes together more fluidly. Maybe somebody made them cut them down for time purposes, because it felt real herky jerky all through that section.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was really following what was happening, but I wasn't sure if it was because the movie was bad or because I was bored.
Does Sonya have those wristbands in the game?
In the original Mortal Kombat, and I don't know about any of the sequels, but in the original Mortal Kombat, and I think Mortal Kombat 3, her little projectile move was shooting pink rings out of her hands.
Okay. I have a theory about why Johnny Cage wasn't in this movie. Like, the fact that the
Please tell me it has something to do with punching people in the balls.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. The fact that this Arcana thing was such a big plot point, the fact that, they needed to train, and then, they sort of had to discover it, Kano had to, get angry, and then he shot a laser beam out of his eye, and he's like, I could shoot laser beams out of my eye. Like, the fact that most of those hero characters had these moments where something happened and then they had to do something heroic that they got their Arcana, I think they just couldn't really justify that Johnny Cage's was dipping down and punch you in the dick.
Well, Johnny Cage's was the shadow kick. That was his cool thing, but he could also punch people in the nuts.
Wait, no, I remember Paul's. I don't remember what was the shadow kick?
It was back, forward, and kick, and then he would just slide across the screen on his foot and kick you.
He would kind of track across the screen and stay stationary, and then his shadow would kind of linger behind him.
And he could throw a fireball too, a little green fireball.
I just remember he punched you in the dick. Did he punch, like, in the game, would he punch everybody in the crotch, or like did they have the game set up so that he couldn't punch Sonya in the crotch?
No, he'd still punch Sonya in the crotch. I mean, you're still getting punched in the crotch. It probably wouldn't hurt the same way, but still, she's still being punched in the crotch, so it's still getting punched, I guess. But yeah.
I just didn't know if it was kind of like, if it was just simple animation where he's got this move and he punches everybody like that, or if the game was like, if the game was
gender cognizant,
set up in a way, cognizant, like, essentially to say, like, we'll rip your spinal column out of your neck, but we can't touch people's vaginas.
Well, let's see. I just found a YouTube video called Evolution of Johnny Cage's Nut Punch, 1992 to 2019. So I'll keep this on in the background and see if we can get to him punching Sonya in the crotch. But I feel like I remember it just being, they're just going to go through every character here. So here's Aria's punching Sonya. Oh, yeah, look at that. You can't punch Sonya in the crotch. He gets down and doesn't throw the punch. So everybody's got an end.
Really?
Yeah, he just gets down and he won't throw the punch. So you can do the move and it'll go into the split, but he won't throw the punch. Oh, look at that. I learned something new today.
Yeah, it's an interesting line that the game draws,
Yeah.
It's violence, but not, not harassment.
We'll rip out your spine, but by God, we're going to respect gender roles.
Well, I mean, I guess the whole purpose is, he wants to get down there and take a sheep shot at your nuts, and if you've got no nuts, then he's not going to do it. I mean, he'll still kill her, he'll still punch her in the face, just not in the crotch. All right. Way to go, Mortal Kombat.
I mean, also sort of like talking about the way that the game was, cognizant of things, right? That like that they. Because that early game was, I feel like it was just so simple, right? It was like, all right, this guy fights that guy, and they do these certain things. I mean, now games are like way more nuanced, but it also made me wonder, like we watched this whole movie where we were supposed to invest in the story between these characters, specifically like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, that it's this ancient grudge, and that one guy killed the other guy's family, and it's that they're sort of like two sides of the same coin or whatever. Like, is it conceivable with that early game that it was just like they made one guy and then they didn't want to animate another guy, so they just colored him yellow?
Well, that is exactly what they were palette swap characters. There was the same actor who just did different moves, and they colored him differently in post production. In fact, I think the same actor did Scorpion, Sub-Zero,
Reptile, right? Wasn't that the other guy?
Raiden and Kano. Oh yeah, Reptile too. But like, I think there was like there was like 3 dudes and Sonya were the entire cast of the original Mortal Kombat, and they just put them in different costumes and did it that way.
Right.
But yeah, there was backstory. If you on the original arcade machine, if you sat there and let it sit there on the attract screen, which is what you call an arcade game, where it sits there and it shows you different things. Every single character would have a little bio, and there was a basic story that Scorpion and Sub-Zero were from rival clans and wanted to kill each other, and why Sonya was out to fight Shang Tsung, and who Goro is and stuff. All that information was in the game, and there was a degree of mythology built into all the background in the games. Like, there would be these guards in weird outfits in the backgrounds, or there's the hero shrine in the pit, and the environment itself was part of the charm of the game, besides just the over-the-top violence and the nifty character designs. And that's what you take to make a movie out of,
I think that was a mistake for this movie. I think if the game had just been pick a dude and fight, then we could have like made some more better choices with this movie. You know, instead it was like, we have to stick to the mythology of the video game, which is just fucking pick a dude and fight.
Well, that's the thing. If they had just stuck to the mythology of the video game, it would have been better. But what the mistake they made was, we have to take the mythology of the video game and flesh it out better. And by the time they got to Mortal Kombat 11, obviously it's complete and total insanity and it's nonsense, but there's a through line. There's a stupid Hollywood movie baked right in there. All you had to do was that. Just take what's in the game and film it. Like, that's all they needed to do by the time they got to like Mortal Kombat 11 or whatever they're on right now. Just take this basic story, fill it with fight scenes, and go from there. They didn't need to add all this extra nuance and stuff to it, because it seemed like the movie was stepping over itself constantly to try to make it seem like this stuff had more gravity than it needed to have. Yellow ninja fight blue ninja. That's awesome. Dude can shoot ice. Dude has roped spear. Yay. This guy shoots fireballs. Awesome. Just do that. You don't need to go any further than that.
Yeah. No, I all the Marvel stuff, the Marvel movies and the Netflix stuff especially, I feel like the thing that they did right is exactly what you just said. They were like, you know what, there's like 60 years of story here. If we just, you know, kind of comb our way through it and just do what's already here, it should be fine. And that's what they've done. They were like, we don't have to make stuff up. We don't have to add to the mythology. We'll just go grab some of the fan favorites. Like, if you look at the Daredevil Netflix series, that's what they did. They were like, we'll do like his origin story in the Frank Miller run in the 80s, and then like, you know, it's like, yeah, you took all the highlights of the last 60 years of storytelling and you just threw it up on the screen. Done. You don't even need a writer. It's already written. The Mortal Kombat probably should have done the same thing. There is a whole story. I knew there was a mythos. I knew I didn't know the mythos. I know that I only had the vaguest idea of the mythos from the first 2 to 3 games, and that there's been a bunch more. So I did go in there with a little bit of leeway for him. Again, I assumed that main character was somebody, and I assumed the wing chick was somebody, and there was 1 or 2 others I didn't know. It was like, that's probably somebody. I knew about Outworld. I knew about, you know, the basic gist of it. So I think I gave the movie a little bit more leeway when I was watching it than it deserved, because I was like, look, you should be placating to your fan base. You're making a Mortal Kombat movie. First and foremost, you should make the Mortal Kombat fans happy. If you can make a movie that's so good that you're also making the people who don't know about Mortal Kombat happy, then you've done that's A+. Good job. But it seems like they got away from it. They fleshed it out in areas that they didn't need, and then they made up a bunch of stuff. And the main character, come on. And the only way in my mind that you could even remotely justify making up the main character when you have this stable is if tomorrow Mortal Kombat 12 was coming out and that guy was the main character. That is the only way you can justify that to me. If Mortal Kombat 12 is coming out tomorrow and that dude, I can't even remember his name now, dude with the armor chest and who's got seems like a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, I know some other people have got fireballs and laser eyes, but it seems like he's not only got, you know, half-ass Colossus, but he's also got blades on tonfas, which is a weird weapon, and he's just manifesting them.
It looked to me like he was made out of noodles and his chest glowed.
Oh, right, that was the other thing. It seemed like he was absorbing and redirecting, like, what's his name? Who does that?
Bishop.
Bishop, thank you. Yeah, so he had a lot going on, and again, I really just assumed it was a character I didn't know.
They didn't really capitalize on that, though. I kept expecting him to like do something cool. Like, when they said, "Do your uppercut," and then he did the uppercut. I was expecting to be like a really big deal, but then it was just an uppercut. All right, and then he got hit again. What the hell?
Yeah, I think the only good stuff about this movie was Kano, and I think the other good thing was that scene where they're training and they just keep tripping each other over and over again, and then the one guy like jumps, but he jumps too early, and then he gets tripped. Like that was like,
I'm pretty sure that was Kano.
Yeah, that was learning to play Mortal Kombat 101. You know, like, it was nice that they had that scene, and I think beyond that, it was what it was.
Yeah, I mean, Raiden was weak sauce. Shang Tsung was like, I mean, that guy had nothing on the original Shang Tsung in the movie. That guy was just oozed charisma, and this guy was just like, kind of there. And again, I was fine with it the entire time I was watching it, but I have no interest in ever watching this again. Like, it reminded me a little bit of the, did you guys happen to see the Monster Hunter movie that came out?
No.
So there's another game series called Monster Hunter, and they made a movie out of Monster Hunter, and it did a bigger movie sin than Mortal Kombat did, where, you know, they take something that's like, all right, here's this property, we're going to license this property, and it's got this whole fantastic world in it, but we need to ground this in our reality, so we're going to make it so, like, what if the Monster Hunter world met the real world? Like they did with that Smurfs movie, right? We're going to make a live-action Smurfs movie. It's going to be about Smurfs, but it's actually going to be about Smurfs in our world. Like, I hate it when movies do that. Like, you've got a property, just go with it. Go with that. Do that. That's why that property exists in the first place, that people want to see a movie of. So just do that. But it did a similar situation where you've got Monster Hunter, you've got this whole entire mythos set up, and they invented a new character, Mila Jovovich's character, to be in the main character of this movie, and then go through the Monster Hunter world as our surrogate from the real world into the Monster Hunter world. And just have faith in your property. Have faith in the fact that people want to see a Mortal Kombat movie, and use the established characters.
Well, we've all sort of said that, what did we expect from this? You know, like we all kind of went into this saying, well, it's Mortal Kombat. Like, are they really going to make high art? But is there any video games that have been turned into amazing movies? Like, is there precedent for, you know, for a video game movie blowing everybody away?
There is not. And the reason for that is exactly what I was just saying, at least as far as I'm concerned. The reason is that the closest I think we've ever gotten is the original Mortal Kombat, which was a gigantic blockbuster success because it was a stupid action movie, but it pleased people who wanted to see a stupid 90s action movie, and it pleased fans of the Mortal Kombat game for the most part. Like, it did its job perfectly, but it wasn't a good movie. And I think, at least from my perspective as somebody who is a huge fan of video games and the stories that they can tell, is that there's a lot of great mythology that can theoretically, without too much effort, be turned into very good storytelling. Like, there are stories to be told, fleshed out in this medium, and nobody does it because everybody who gets their hands on it has to mess with it. Like, and I hate to use this as an example because I don't think there's a great story to be told in the first place, but look at the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that came out. There was this live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So what did they do? They brought Sonic into our world. Now, the movie was cute enough. It was a perfectly fine kids movie, but it wasn't great. It wasn't super good. It wasn't very entertaining. It didn't tell an amazing story or anything. But again, they could have made a Sonic the Hedgehog movie in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, because that's what everyone wants to see, right? You're going to make a movie, and you're going to put these bright, colorful characters in these bright, colorful worlds. That's what you want to see a movie made out of, not Sonic running around in New York City, because I've seen New York City. I've never seen a sentient blue hedgehog running around in New York City, but you know what I mean? Like, there's something there already. Why do you have to change it? Why do you have to make it something that it's not? So nobody has successfully done that because nobody's ever really made much of a video game movie that even attempts to do that. Now, Netflix recently released, over the last couple of years, a Castlevania anime series, which is fantastic.
I watched a little bit of that.
It's great. It just tells a cool vampire hunter story based in the world of the Castlevania video games. Wonderful. And the reason that's doing so well is because it's doing exactly what everybody's always wanted them to do with video game movies since the get-go. They're taking the source material, just like Sean said with the Daredevil comics. They're just taking the source material and adapting it to the screen. That's it. That's all that needs to be done.
So I can think of one video game example that I think did a pretty good job. Now, I'm not the best. I only played like the first one. No, I played the first two, and I only saw the first two. But I feel like the first Resident Evil movie, not perfect, but I feel like they did a decent job of trying to actually make a movie that someone could watch and still placating to the Resident Evil fans. Now, again, I only beat the first two Resident Evils. and I only watched the first 2 Resident Evil movies. I think that was a whole series of movies. I think they got to like 3 or 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them.
Right.
There was a ton of them. There's like 6 or 7 of them.
I don't know where they went from there, but I feel like at least the first one, when I watched that when it first came out, felt at least somewhat, I was like, yeah, you took the... And that should have been even easier, though, in all fairness, because the first Resident Evil video game felt like a movie. And I know going back now would probably not with all the crazy loading times and stuff, but I remember when I played it as a kid, and I know they had the cutscenes that had the terrible acting, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the scenes you actually played. That and the Silent Hill, and I think there was a Silent Hill movie that I vaguely remember watching that was just kind of somehow missed the mark. It was like they captured the feel of the game, but somehow missed something else about it. I'm not exactly sure what. I remember not loving it as much, but I think the first Resident Evil movie kind of did what we're talking about in that, like, it hit all the check boxes, which Mortal Kombat did. Somebody said fatality, somebody said come over here, but it did it in such a way that you weren't like you're forcing this on me. Like you got to make a movie that does this. You can't just do this. It's got to be both.
But like the original Resident Evil, now I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan, but I do know this, that Resident Evil from 2002, Mila Jovovich's character is Alice, who is a character invented for the movie. So they didn't just adapt Resident Evil, which would have been great, right?
Right.
Haunted Mansion, put these characters in there from the game, even throw in a throwaway line from the bad dialogue in the original game about, like, I was almost a Jill sandwich, or the master of unlocking, or whatever, because that game had hilarious dialogue.
It's funny, for as close to a movie as the game was, the acting was and the dialogue was so bad.
Oh, yeah, it was unbelievably bad. So just do that. Do that exact game. Adapt a screenplay intelligently and film it.
Right.
That's what you do for a Resident Evil movie, but they didn't. When they did Resident Evil, they invented a whole new thing. And then as the movies went on, they started to... What is it? Resident Evil Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, and the final chapter. So there were 6 movies in total.
Holy crap. No, that was it. The second one finally brought in Jill from the first game, right? Because I don't think I saw many past that, and I remember Jill coming in and thinking, there you go, that's who you should... I didn't understand why... You're right, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even think this Mortal Kombat movie attempted to do the storytelling that a Resident Evil movie did. I think it attempted to do the storytelling that, Super Mario Brothers or Double Dragon did.
Oh boy. If you ever want like a really good, interesting story, dive into what happened with the Super Mario Brothers movie. Just really look into the history of that movie. It is fascinating.
The answer has to be drugs, right? I mean, it's just got to be drugs. Druggity drugs, and more drugs.
That movie that came out was like the 5th iteration. Like, that movie went through 3 or 4 different directors, full top-to-bottom script rewrites. Like, it was all over the place. That movie's insane. And that story of that movie being made is completely bonkers.
Well, I can enjoy that movie on a terrible level. The fact that you're telling me this much work went into it, there was like 5 screen rewrites, it's more upsetting than anything else. It's kind of like, oh God, somebody really tried. Like, when you think about it, it's just like, hey, we all got together, we made this movie. It's nonsense. It's like, oh, okay, that's great. But if that was like a lot years of effort by different people, oh God, that's just, And
it would get all the way to a certain point, and then it'd be like, no, this doesn't work. Try something else. And that is the one that they landed on. I think only because that was it. It was either this gets made or nothing gets made. And I think the studio was like, well, we're doing this.
When Ed Wood made a terrible movie, it's what he made last night with whoever he could find, and you're like, oh, this is, this is pretty good. This is what you had around and you did this. I mean, it's pretty good. But like budget and effort and multiple attempts, come on, you got to do better than this.
So we're being relatively harsh on Mortal Kombat. Is the rest of the world being relatively harsh on Mortal Kombat? Like, is this will this be the end of it? Did this not do well?
I think it did very well, because a lot of people wanted to see it in the first place. I don't know how many people are seeing it multiple times, and I don't know how that translates now because ticket prices don't really factor in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to benefit from the fact that there ain't nothing else to watch. But it makes me wonder, like, if there's this renaissance of these movies like Mortal Kombat, like, does that mean, it's going to be the rise of the old school video game movie again? Like, could we get another Street Fighter movie?
Oh, I would love to see another take on Street Fighter, because that first one is a beautiful disaster, and the reboot years later, The Legend of Chun-Li, is downright disturbing and just makes me uncomfortable to watch.
I didn't even know there was a reboot movie.
Oh, it's bad. It stars Kristen Curick, the girl from Smallville, and
okay.
The M. Bison is played by the guy who played Dum Dum Dugan in Captain America.
Oh, well, no one will ever replace Raul Julia in my heart.
No, never. He's amazing. Let's see. It looks like Mortal Kombat secured. This is coming from IGN.com. Mortal Kombat secured the top spot in the weekend domestic box office by earning $22.5 million and narrowly defeating Demon Slayer, the movie, Mugen Train's impressive $19.5 million debut. So it looks like it had a pretty strong debut.
See, that doesn't sound like a strong debut, because you just said it narrowly beat some other movie I ain't never heard of. So
I've never heard of that movie either.
It sounds like it won a boxing match against no one, which is like, well, yeah, you won, but there was no one else in the ring. And like, I don't know how they're measuring it now, because there are some ticket sales, but there's, it's not like you could release a great movie right now and it's not going to make the ticket sales of something that came out pre-COVID, because are the theaters even open, or they had half capacity, half the people are afraid to go, whatever it is. So like, I don't know what a fair way to assess it is. You can say that it made the most money, but then you've got like a lot of the big blockbuster movies that have been done for a while are still being held back. They haven't released Black Widow yet or anything like that. So
yeah.
Mortal Kombat won out in a room full of nothing. So it doesn't mean it was bad, but it doesn't mean it did great either. It's hard
Check
to
this
measure.
out. This is interesting.
Just like most of the people fighting in the movie, one out in a room full of nothing.
So it continues. However, Mortal Kombat and Demon Slayer both surpassed Godzilla vs. Kong this weekend in North America, helping secure the biggest overall theatrical session since the coronavirus pandemic began. So that's something. But this is interesting. Mortal Kombat earned another $27.6 million overseas, bringing its worldwide total of $50.1 million. Demon Slayer, which has already become Japan's highest-grossing movie of all time, has accumulated $388.2 million internationally, making its worldwide total $407.7 million. I have never heard of this Demon Slayer movie, but apparently it's a big deal.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It's hard right now. You don't hear about, like, I don't know. I don't have cable anymore, so maybe it's on me. Like, I got rid of that, but I feel like it's just about Corona. Like, pre-Corona, I didn't have cable either for like a year, and I still heard about like big release movies and whatever. The top 5 or 6 movies coming out each month I knew about.
The Demon Slayer movie is an anime movie, so I don't know how much we would have heard about it even if we did have cable and watch TV, because it's an anime movie. So,
right, yeah, I feel like all the big studios are holding back their big releases
until we can all go to theaters again. Yeah,
right, because they want their. This, if they release Black Widow and it's the first Marvel movie to not crack the top 20, they're going to be sad about it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so yeah, Mortal Kombat. The only other, I'm trying to think of other big releases that have happened, and I can't. Like, I feel like they're making, a lot of these studios are making big deals out of movies that would have been like direct to TV beforehand. Like there was some sort of disaster
Godzilla
movie.
versus Kong.
Godzilla versus Kong probably would have hit theaters, I think. Pre-COVID?
Oh, definitely.
Right.
It was already slated to. That because they had built that was a crossover between those giant Godzilla King of the Monsters,
Kong Skull
Island. Like that was announced to be a theatrical big deal. That was no question that would have been a
theater release, right.
They were creating that monster verse for a while.
Yeah.
Right. But it would have been a B. It wouldn't have been the I don't think it would have been the box office destroyer or anything. It would have gone there. I would have gone seen it. I would have given them my $10 or whatever, but I don't think it would have
considering the performance of the last 3 in that franchise, I think that was I think that's pretty safe to say that would have been a pretty big deal. I'm looking at the highest grossing.
Did Skull Island do well? I saw it. I liked it. I just didn't realize it did well. Like, all right.
Let's see. The highest grossing movies of 2021 so far. At the top is still Godzilla vs. Kong. We're talking just domestic gross in the U.S. at 80 million.
Now, with that, are they counting like ticket sales and like I watched it on TV? But I don't
know how they're calculating that. I have no idea.
Oh, I didn't pay for Mortal Kombat either. I steal my HBO from my girlfriend's parents.
But somebody's paying for
somebody.
it. So.
That's true. My girlfriend's parents are paying for HBO.
Let's see. Ryan, in second place is Tom and Jerry. I forgot they made a Tom and Jerry movie.
20 years late.
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
Yep,
that would have been huge in the 90s when like people were having kids that grew up on Tom and Jerry. But now I'm like, dude. My generation didn't like. I don't know about you guys. I know who Tom and Jerry were, but that was really like that was before me. And now our friends all have kids. It's like, are our friends bringing them to see Tom and Jerry? Like, you should be making DuckTales the movie and Animaniacs the movie. That's what we grew up on. Tom and Jerry is. I feel like that movie is 20, 30 years.
Apparently,
late.
it did well enough to beat Raya and the Last Dragon from Disney.
I brought Nate to see it at a drive-in movie theater because, like, what the hell else were we doing? You know, like, it was like, go see Tom and Jerry or, sit and stare at the wall all night.
Which was the better option?
I don't know if you're supporting my point or fighting it. I had the choice of watching this or staring at the wall. We chose to watch it. All right.
Tom and Jerry was relatively enjoyable.
All right.
From what I saw of it when I wasn't waiting in line for concessions, it was funny.
Oh, there was that Coming to America sequel. I wonder if that would have made it into theaters. I feel like it would have because it's Paramount Pictures.
That was great. I like that.
Anything with Eddie Murphy
like
would probably make it to theaters, pre-COVID time.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that it would have been the blockbuster. You usually got like, your one or two super big action movies, either superhero or Fast and Furious or whatever, usually dominate for big chunks of the year. And then you've got a couple, one or two dramas that win a bunch of Oscars that, fill in the gaps in between those. And then maybe like a, rom-com or something that pops up for a week or two.
But I'm looking at what's on the horizon here, and I'm not seeing a lot. Not seeing much.
Well, then that should be great for us doing this once a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't see
at that rate. We'll totally keep up with what's happening with new movies.
April is this, and then May we'll be doing an old movie. So we need something in June. What's going to come out in June? Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway. There it is.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll think of something. Well, I mean, I think I've just about capped out on everything I have to say about Mortal Kombat. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No. If are we giving advice to people who watch? If you had all wanted to watch a Mortal Kombat movie, then watch this movie. I mean, it did most of the Mortal Kombat things. Terrible. I didn't have to turn it off. If you're looking for high art, then absolutely do not come here.
If you're looking for high art, watch the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes were pretty good.
And if you're looking for chuckles, fast forward till you see Kano and then watch that.
Yeah.
He was great.
I also half recommend it. It's fine. If you're gonna watch something this stupid, though, I would prefer Godzilla vs. Kong because that was some stupid. But they gave Kong an axe. It was awesome.
All right, that's a different podcast, and I don't want to get into that movie.
What about you, Paul? Do you recommend or no?
No. I'm gonna say if you have to choose between this and anything else, watch something you know is going to be good. I think that this was a waste of time.
I'm actually going to amend mine a bit. If you want to watch a Mortal Kombat movie, go watch the 1995 one.
Yeah, go watch the 1995
Track down the original
one.
You will have more fun watching that than this.
Or watch Annihilation, just for the cheesy, terrible factor.
I can't even recommend it for that. I hate that movie so
I think
much.
I think that this one didn't have much going for it in terms of it being good or in terms of it being awful.
Or a better plan, track down Christopher Lambert, ask him to come back to America, and then watch Kong versus Godzilla with him. I bet you have a better night.
Bet you would.
He
Seems
does.
like a very nice guy.
There can be
But only if he comes back
one.
from France.
All right, everybody. That's going to be our show. I think it's time to wrap things up, and it's time to decide what our next film is going to be. So we're going to go into the back catalog, and we're going to start with the letter A. I feel like we all have the same vote here, but let's give it a shot anyway. Because I guess we have to decide on this, and then if we wind up getting listeners in the future, we can poll them. But right now, there's nobody else to ask but us. So,
geez, you guys, I'm sort of glad that we have this thing set up of doing it alphabetically, because for me, if we were just coming up with this organically, we have come full circle with Christopher Lambert. I think it would be time to dive into Highlander. But if we got to start with A, then let's start with A.
So, Paul, what's your vote for a movie that starts with A?
I think if we're going A, I got to go all the way with A and go A-Team.
Sean?
So we briefly mentioned this earlier, and I would love to rewatch that movie because I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I will probably just back up that. But if we're just looking for something else to vote for, the only other A movie I can think of off the top of my head is Atomic Monster, the 1959 classic that I don't think we should watch because I'm the only one who's going to enjoy that, I think.
I'm also going to vote A-Team. My wife and I just watched that movie like a couple of weeks ago because I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
So, all right. 3 votes for A-Team. We'll kind of iron out some of the lumps here. Like, are we all going to vote on the show, or are we going to take turns picking movies? I don't know. Right now, we all want to watch A-Team, so that's going to be our next episode, focusing on the wonderful masterpiece that is the A-Team, starring Liam Neeson and Rocket Raccoon. And
Either
other
way,
people.
Well, I like the idea of us voting on this. So next time, let's not tell each other our picks.
Yes.
Like when it's time for B, keep it to yourself. Hold on to your card. Don't show anybody your
But
hand.
I think I do like my only because I have a great one for B. But I think my rule about if it's an alliteration, I think you win tie-breaking authority.
This isn't categories.
How do you know it's not categories? I got such a good alliteration one for B. Man, I'm excited.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our show. A Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network, and if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, all of which can be found in this episode's show notes. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time in the Theater Near You. I'm Chris.
Oh, I'm Paul. Thanks for listening.
It's been a wonderful night, and don't forget to thank your parents.
Good night.
Good night.